We're in there.
Were you over here?
Call over to the village board meeting at the Lisbon Village Hall on Wednesday, May 10th, 2023 at 6:33 PM. Roll call, please.
President Osterman,
Here.
trustee Mormon,
Here.
trustee Beal. Here. Trustee Quinn,
Here.
on Zoom, treasurer Gerard. Here. Administrator Nicholas. Here. And clerk Patch. We also have, trustee Potecker is absent and excused.
Thank you. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation. under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 is comments from citizens present. Does anyone have any comments tonight? State your name and address, please.
Interesting and an honor to address not the town, but the village board. Congratulations, everyone. Edward Nelson, West 270 N 7531, Oakwood Court, Heartland. The reason I'm here this afternoon is to just bring to your attention, and this was a motion that was passed by the Park Committee in April. And I would just like to speak to it very briefly. First of all, what was passed? This is a request to the village board that given the unique quality and conception of for the community park, i.e. prairie, woodlands, wetlands, Bark River sites, and recreational sites be maintained and preserved under its current format and plan for now and in the future. That was the resolution. It was passed by the Park Committee 7-0. The community park, as you know, was basically has been developed over a period of decades, starting in the late 1970s, early 80s. It is located obviously off of Oakwood Road and Lake 5 Road. It's our largest park. It's approximately 123 acres. From its conception, a community park was to be designed and looking forward as a recreational and as an environmental park. And the environmental part of this, as I stressed at our park board meeting, was that increasingly we are seeing problems with biodiversity as a state and as a region. Community park is quite unique. We should be very proud of it because it offers, again, recreational opportunities and again, through the prairies, which by the way, were recently burned. Thank you very much. That hadn't been able to be done in at least 3 to 5 years. And that fits into the biodiversity of that park. So what might your concerns be? This resolution does not prohibit, nor does it prevent in the future, long after I'm gone, the building, for example, of a obviously indoor toilets, possibly a recreational building on the site, etc. I did not, the resolution as drawn up was not to prohibit that. What it is asking that the full board consider is that, again, to protect its diversity as a park that's tied in, of course, with biodiversity that I have already mentioned. And to keep this short, as I think of how or what I see or what I observe with the village, the growing, obviously, we are no longer a rural or country type entity. We have become a suburb, and in other areas of the village are becoming, of course, increasingly urbanized. So not 20 years down the road that I thought originally, but 4 to 10 years down the road, community park is going to be an incredible, valuable asset, okay, for all the homes that are being built near and around, obviously, Lake 5 Road and in that sector of our community. Are there any questions for me?
So we can't even ask any questions during citizens' comments if you want to stick around till
Okay.
your agenda item.
Sorry,
We can do
Mr.
it then.
Chairman, as usual, mixing up on protocol.
It's all good. Just, we can do it during your item.
Okay, I'm going to have to, when it comes before the board, I do see it as an item. I cannot, I'm speaking to it now. I cannot stay. So just so you know that it's not that I don't care. All right. But thank you very much for your attention. And congratulations on being a village board.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone else wish to make any comments during citizens' comments? Anyone on Zoom? All right, item 4 is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a village board member requests that an item be removed for separate consideration. We have the April 12th, 2023 village board minutes. Ordinance 2023-05 to lower the speed limit on a portion of Hillside Road from 45 to 35. We Energy's electric service installation at Business Park East at a cost of $57,644.90. And the Pitney Bowes lease agreement for the postal meter. Does anyone want any of them removed for separate consideration? I'm going to ask that we remove B for separate consideration, please. I guess I'd make a motion then to approve A, C, and D. Is there a second? Mark, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries for all. Item B is the ordinance 2023-05 to lower the speed limit on a portion of Hillside Road. So this got a ton of opposition the last time this happened. And I mean an absolute ton. Did anybody know? We won't get any of nobody.
We've had 3 calls, all in.
I mean, it was, in fact, the public safety committee voted to lower it and the board did.
We have not had anyone talk about, call us with that.
So this started because of going into the roundabout, I'm assuming. How is everybody, I mean,
I'm wondering if they think, the residents think it's only for the fact that the roundabout is going in and they want the speeds lower for the trucks and so forth to go over to Plainview Road. You know, I'm just Good Hope. I'm just kind of wondering if they think that.
Now, they, people that I spoke to, understand that.
It's a permanent thing.
That it's a permanent thing from, because we only have a small area. Go from 35 all the way, then leave a little piece of 45 and go back to 35. They didn't have any route. I did not have any.
so this, I mean, this is 45 all the way from Hills, from,
965.
It's county line to what?
all the way past Friday.
It's 965 feet.
Remember the bottom one? It got changed on that. It used to be from.
Was 965 feet south of Watershed. That's the part that is both sides.
I would be prepared for some phone calls. Linda?
Yeah. And why are we doing this again? Who brought this up that we should lower it?
So it needs to be lowered going into the roundabout,
Who recommended that?
the county. Because they didn't make the roundabout large enough for that speed limit to come in. So they asked us to drop it down to 35 miles an hour. And if we went from 35 to 45 to 35, it just made sense to just complete the vote. at 35.
They're not making it bigger. I'm a little confused because we're having a lot of those trucks going on the roundabout.
All they said was the speed limit needs to be lowered to 35 miles an hour. Something.
What are you gonna do? Okay.
Mark, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, and I think the consensus of Public Works was that starting off at Plainview, you're at 35,
Mhm.
you go down the hill, you're kind of by the, just past the gun club, and then you have the first subdivision. Then it's now 45 going up the hill all the way to south of the Bark River. So it was like 35, 45 feet within a close of mile and a half. I think that was the only consistency that we found was that if we put it all to 35, you know, you don't have to worry about one speeding up, slowing down. I think we thought if it was still 45 up to the roundabout, it wouldn't make sense because you're not changing but once. And south of Plainview, obviously it's more populated, but definitely 35 is appropriate through there. We now have a new subdivision south of Plainview. I think it was not a consistency, so.
Paul, anything?
I mean, I'm wondering, safety wise, of course, is my first concern. I mean, is 45 just not safe going into that roundabout then?
That's what Washington County said.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't here for the last time that this was tried and that, we had a lot of complaints from citizens. So is there any penalty for not going to 35?
They asked us if we would go to 35. When we first started the negotiations with them, I'm not paying for it. So we were gonna go to 35, but it just didn't make sense to go from 35 to 45 and then back to 35.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just on that point, you generally don't have single lane each direction entering a roundabout at 45 miles an hour because
Yeah.
there's adverse effects for drivers that don't see the roundabout that's raised. And then you're meeting 2 other lanes of traffic while you're flying through the air over the roundabout.
Just curious, does anybody know in Washington County, is that all 35 over there too?
Yeah.
Down to 35.
It will be, okay,
Yeah, and going north off of both sides is benefit.
yeah, okay.
Anyone wish to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-05 to lower speed on Fortune Hillside Road to 45 to 35.
Is there a second?
Second, but I would like to add something to that motion per Washington County's request. Can we do that?
I don't think I need to add it because we're in Washington County, so,
No, Washington County. It's Washington County's request.
but that's already been approved. We're talking about lowering it south.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying Washington County has requested we lower the speed limit. And so we're doing that per Washington County's request. But that's okay if you don't want to add it.
Maybe just highlight it in the minutes that,
Yeah,
is you okay with that?
so they know why we're doing it.
So it won't be official part of the motion, but it would be in the minutes.
That's
which is the
fine.
Official record.
That's fine.
All right, any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, item 5, accounts payable, authorizing the payment of the Falls Auto Parts bill dated 4/30 for $305.58 and 5/5 for $31.05.
I make a motion, we approve.
There's second. By Mark, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Item B, authorizing the payment of the remaining bills dated 4/30 for $259,801.02 and 5/5 for $164,012.72.
Our top five expenses are $57,694.90 for we energies for business parties, $25,150.36 to Hamilton School District, $23,876.42. Premier building inspections, $19,821.25 from metering, and $7,088.97 in the energy reserve. After your approval.
Any questions?
Mm-mm.
Is there a motion on the check register?
I guess I do have a question. Can we anticipate more costs from Wisconsin Electric for any of the electricity that's going into the park over there, or is this it? Okay,
So,
And
and
it-
then we will. As each of the entities get, brought on, we'll see a credit coming back from you.
okay.
As well,
So it's just brought to the lot line.
just brought to the line. And
Mhm.
then, when Quick Trip or Pizza Ranch, any of them, start using the service, then we will get a refund for putting in the fund.
Okay.
It's kind of like we're putting in the line, because if we don't have anybody that signed up for it.
Okay, so we get a refund from who?
Yeah, just,
We Energies, okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, does anyone wish to make a motion?
I make a motion, we accept.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Paula? Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item C, authorizing the payment of the utility trust district bills dated 5/4 for the amount of $43,742.25.
You have the packet. for you. Ask for your approval.
Questions or comments, or is there a motion?
I wasn't at the meeting, but I make a motion to accept.
Linda, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item 6, utility district quarterly report.
Good evening. My name is Mike Sargent. I've been doing accounting for the utility district. So far, the performance of the utility district has been pretty much where we would expect it to be. The single exception has been that the last month's bill from Sussex was a bit higher due to an unanticipated change in the flows for Willow Springs. Beyond that, everything is right on line with where we expected the budget to be. And that the year should perform according to that, the overall budget. Now, the report you have shows how much money we have spent year to date and what percent of the budget is left for the rest of the year. I don't anticipate overrunning any of the budgets at this time.
Is there still infiltration going on at
Well,
Willow?
this was a very warm March, so it was an unusual flow for March. We would normally have that flow in April. And I'm expecting that to correct itself once we see the April bill. That's about the only thing that we see other than what the Public Works Committee is discussing about flows.
Any questions from the board? Paul, anything?
No, I'm good, Joe. Thank you.
All right.
But doesn't the trailer park actually reimburse us for our expenses though?
I'm sorry. what-
Yeah, the trailer park actually reimburses us for our actual expenses.
They reimburse the variable part or the cost that we're
Mhm.
charged by Sussex to treat the waste. And they pay a fixed amount every month for the use of the WEN and Interceptor.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
No other questions?
Mm-mm.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Item 7, administrator reports. Quick administrator report then.
I will send you all the department reports and then also our marketing and a marketing report.
All right. Item 8, treasurer report.
Okay. I'll start off by addressing training. I've been working with Lisa on motor fuel refund claims, which is a quarterly process, and showing her different portions of tracking and organization for my reconciliations. I've also been working with Jasmine on cash receipting in our system to help with deposits, and then Lisa will learn that next. I registered for year 2 at the Treasurers Institute and applied for the scholarship again. And I'm planning to attend the Fall Treasurers Conference instead of spring. So moving on to the treasurer reports, which are located right after the utility reports. We have the summary and the investments. And then the next 5 pages are all the detailed reports for the line items per category. So starting with our financial position. So the summary document here. As of the end of March, we've received 65% of our budgeted revenues, and upcoming revenues down below are approximately 195,000 in aids and also the revenue, which is the quarry payment. The total expenditures account for 22% of the budget as of March 31st. And if you include the capital we levied for in the general fund, that's the 550,000 transferred out to capital, we're at 30%. So upcoming debt payments are listed below, approximately 189,000, which is May through August. That's adding the principal and interest totals together. And then we have just under 60,000 remaining for the rest of the year. Moving on, so turn the page to investments. The total investments as of March are 12.856 million. Total interest earned for Q1 is just under 170,000, which is 50 times Q1 of last year. So the rate negotiations have definitely paid off. We're seeing high returns due to Waukesha State Bank and Town Bank are matching the LGIP. And also I negotiated our tax account from 0.35%. That was the original offer, to just over 4%, also rate matching LGIP for January and February, which are our highest balance months. So in January alone, you can see that we earned just over 63,000, which is equivalent to nearly half the total interest earned in 2022. Moving on, then also per CDs, just above that, you'll see that I negotiated a 4% rate for 12 months. And those old rates were 0.30 and 0.20%. So that new rate was as of January 2023. And then currently I'm working on April and the interest is around 47,000. So for a summary of taxes, January and February settlements are complete. We've received 77% of our tax revenues. We've received and distributed all tax settlements to the jurisdictions with the exception of the August settlement. Books are balanced in terms of all tax entries. And general updates, we started capital project tracking for 2023, and we're using these activity codes that the directors know to code the bills, and we're able to run reports by project. So this will help with organization and spending. A note on loan proceeds from the capital project loan for 2023. We actually received those in December of last year. So in 2023, you won't see incoming revenue on capital fund reporting. It is part of the capital fund balance from prior year. Back in December, in preparation for tax season, and the high balances in our primary accounts, I did transfer the budgeted amount of 2.1 million into a new TID LGIP sub account. And that is simply a placeholder until the details are worked out regarding the internal fund balance advance versus the borrow. And John from Ellers is set to present the rate analysis and options to the board at the June meeting. That way the board can give feedback prior to the TID annual meeting in August. Final note, the audit entries are all complete and the Form C and the TID annual report were submitted to the DOR last Friday. That's it.
Any questions?
No, wonderful job. Thank you. A
Thank
lot of
you.
work for you, but thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Anything for you, Paula?
No, just ditto with what Linda said. I love the new organization. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, it definitely looks good. And I mean, there's no, the interest that we're getting is amazing.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
It's just more readable, in my opinion. It's a little more easy to understand. So
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9, Public Works and Utility Committee referrals. We have none, it looks like. Move on to 10, Parks Committee referrals. We have a discussion and necessary action on the request to preserve Community Park under its current format and plan. The park approved this 7-0.
mhm.
Paula, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, Kathy, I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know if your mic is not working. So
Paula, did you want to talk about this item? I know Ed just spoke about it, but.
yeah, and I think a lot was said during the citizens' comments portion, you know, with kind of what Ed had laid out for all of us. The park committee is, you know, this has been a committee that's been together for a long time, under, you know, Marlene's guidance, that they feel very strongly about the parkland. And I get that. They put a lot of time and energy and sweat into this. We did discuss it quite a bit, and I did kind of give them some of our feelings about, you know, what as a board we can do and what future boards would be able to do. So, you know, that saying, I did vote for it, and I'm gonna vote for it again now. And understanding that we are not locked in, understanding that that's maybe just and I'm speaking for obviously all of us, which I will not do, but I'm speaking for myself, that maybe just under our jurisdiction that we, you know, would just put parkland not in front necessarily if we've got a great development project, but just kind of keep what makes Lisbon, forefront in our mind, that we do like open space and that type of thing. So with that said, that was really the overall feeling of the park committee, that they've just, you know, put their heart and soul into this right now and just want, you know, are afraid seeing what other communities are doing, that, you know, we're going to just be mindful of that, I guess, is really what I took out from it. So that being said, again, I'm going to be voting for this resolution. So everybody will just vote their conscience and we'll go from there.
Linda? Any feelings on this?
No, I think we should go along with what the park committee recommends.
So I don't know if you want to go, Mark, or I'll. I am not in favor of trying to bind future boards' hands. In fact, we won't be, because there's nothing we do that can't be undone by a future board, to be quite honest with you. I respect what they're trying to do here, but the board is the elected entity that decides this.
Mhm.
If the board at some point decides they want to do something with that park, they're going to do it. If they want to put a plan together that says, this is what we envision for the park, this is what we think should be, I think that's great. But saying that this should just stay the way it is, I'm not in favor of that. I mean, we're already talking about putting bathrooms in, and I know Ed had said, well, that wasn't the vision. Well, it doesn't say that here, though. And I don't mean to disrespect in any way, shape, or form the Parks Committee, and I've already talked to Marlene about this, so this is not going to be a surprise to her, and express my feelings. I think a lot of things we did in that park were done because we were economical. John Greaton himself told me the reason, because I asked him one time, why do we have so much prairie in this park? And he said, well, that's because we didn't want to cut the grass. Cost money and labor to cut the grass. Prairie doesn't cost anything, so that's why the prairie was done that way.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean in the future we might not want to I mean, this has been talked about, a dog park. Now, I'm not saying that's going there, but if a future board decides they want to put that in there, they're gonna do it. The elected officials, we can't tie their hands. We can do it with that, but we can't do it any other way.
But to tie them in, does that mean that we can't change things? Or
Well,
this is automatic?
Let's say in a year, this board wants to change something, but you just voted this in. How do you do that after you did this? Like this great idea comes forward and somebody wants to donate money to put something in the park
Okay,
that does change the features of the park, but doesn't take it away from being very open space and everything. How do you do that?
oh,
And if you do, why did you do this?
It's a good point. I think you know, at that point, the park committee would have to kind of re-examine its real vision for this, you know. Change is scary and I get that, but again, I think and I agree with you, Joe. I don't think they have a vision. I don't think there is an overall vision in mind. Just let's not pave it, right? Or let's not do something different to it.
Don't change anything. We don't
Yeah.
know, but don't change it. I don't mean to be cruel that way, but it's just,
No, I get it.
it is. And I get that because it's an awesome park and we have a very nice park.
right, I agree, we do with a lot of hard work on the parks part. But so we cannot, what happened, like you were just saying, that the park has to okay any changes. And that,
The board does.
well, she was just saying they can talk it over and change what they want to do to.
The Parks Committee recommends to us.
Right,
Right.
yeah. So,
It's just, I'm saying is, if we want to do a vision and what we think it should look like in the future, and a document that says that this is our mission statement and our vision for what it'll be, I'm all in favor of that, but bringing something saying that it just should stay in its current format and plan for now and in the future, well, what's the plan?
oh,
I don't have a plan with me right here. I just have a document that says,
I see
let's
what you're
keep that.
saying now, Joe. I never thought of it that way.
so, you know, I mean, to say the format and plan, do we have a plan?
Hmm.
Yeah. That part, right. So if we have one of those, let's talk about it and see if that's what the consensus is gonna be.
Okay,
But,
okay,
and again, I'm not looking, I don't think anybody's here looking to change that park in any way, shape or
no,
form, but
no.
I also don't wanna just pass something that's meaningless because 5 different people here could say, we're gonna sell it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it because those boards could do that.
Yeah,
I would hope they wouldn't do that. But
yeah, exactly. Hmm.
So I feel like I should know the answer to this question, but would it be worth our while to bring it back to the park committee and see if we could get a little bit more direction on what they're thinking instead of as broad as it is, or would that be a possibility?
Yeah, I'll just weigh in. I had the same question, and the biggest one was why do we need to? I mean, there's nothing drastic that's changed in my 6+ years on the board. I mean, there's really nothing that has changed a lot, and I don't foresee any huge plans changing anything drastically. I don't think adding, you know, a flushable toilet versus a pit bowl is going to be a drastic change. I think that's really what we need to consider. And I guess I just think of, if we do make a resolution as a board, I think we handicap ourselves in the sense that there's things that need to be done swiftly and quickly out of just sheer unfortunate circumstances. And one thing I draw upon is the naming of this park at this site. I mean, we essentially changed the park name quicker than anything else we've done recently as far as renaming something. Because we had to, and it was right to do, and it was important. You know, I also think of Stone Family Park, I mean, that for the longest years probably was never envisioned with a state-of-the-art, all-inclusive type playground facility. And now we have it just because a quick opportunity came up because Sussex was building a subdivision right next door to it. We had, you know, granted funds. They had funds available and we needed to move quick to make it happen, and we did. And it's a beautiful addition to the park. And I even think of something as simple as John Greiten's sign in the park at the community park. You know, that needed to be done swiftly because of the importance of it. And I would hate to see somebody muddle over a document and be black and white over something. Yes, I know I've done that before, but I would hate to see that get knocked down because somebody goes back and finds a document that says we want it the way it is today and it should always be that way. And then now everybody needs to consider that and not really the real project that needs to be done. So I love the spirit of what this means, but I don't think it's out of necessity that we actually create a resolution to adopt it.
I mean, 10 years from now, the board could be petitioned to put pickleball or basketball courts there and I mean, it's not like they're gonna look and say, well, the 2023 Lisbon Village Board said no.
Mhm.
I mean,
Well, you two gentlemen have given me a lot to think about. And I think I would be in favor just to leave it alone now, just to see what happens. And I thank you for opening up my eyes then. I didn't realize, I guess, to the extent, and I'm glad.
I see what they're trying to do and
Well,
I
sure.
appreciate it, but I
Me
just
too.
putting a binding resolution together that technically isn't binding anyway, because any board could overturn it, just like a president can overturn any other president's executive order. It's the same thing.
Right, right.
Um,
And if they have a
But-
project in mind, they can always approach us.
But as far as putting together a plan of what it's, that part, what their vision is and talking about, I think that's
The
something.
vision is okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something we could definitely do
Okay.
and see what their plan is there and, then get our input too of what we think and
Mhm.
go from there.
So Joe, if you don't think it's binding for a future board, it wouldn't be binding for this one then either, correct? I mean, if
It would-
we just say that we pass this and a year from now, something came up, I mean, we could override this fairly easily, correct?
It would take some time to do it though, because it's like Mark said, if something comes up that you want to do quickly, well, now you got to have a meeting to undo or change this resolution and at that point,
Yeah, I guess, why do we need to do it then?
right?
If it's not binding, it's not, I think everybody on the Parks Board and everybody on the village board, we understand what the purpose of that park is. And I
Mhm.
don't think anybody's trying to bulldoze it and put up high rises. I certainly wouldn't vote for that. I don't think anybody's trying to make anything crazy new. I mean, I think the most, like I said, that we've done, I think of the proposal for the snowmobile going through there, which would, given our winters would happen maybe once a season. That's nothing major that we can't count, and I don't think it's gonna work apart, so. I like the spirit of it, but I don't think out of necessity, it's necessary. I think we're all on the same page, and we do have the ability to evolve as a community, and
Paula, was there worry? I mean, I guess recently it sounded like there must have been some park that was developed.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the fact that we incorporated and turned into a village, I think that maybe I didn't throw up red flags, but people are thinking, what is going to be the upshot of that piece of it?
protection.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maintain the feel of Lisbon right now as it is a, more rural kind of place. I really am thinking, I really like the idea of going back and crafting this differently and putting a vision for the park together. I'm this is sort of like a stop, don't do anything type of resolution without saying like what our future intentions would be. So I like the idea of kind of working this a little bit more to make it more open to change. Because I do agree with you, Joe. I'm, just reading through it again as we're talking here. This is, stop. This will never be, changed. It will all be preserved as exactly as is. So we can work on it as a committee as well.
I think a vision board is a great thing, and you can work from there and we can work from there and be open to things.
Yeah, I mean, just putting it, because it says it talks about the plan, but we don't
Yeah.
really have a plan.
Exactly.
So maybe that's what we need is a vision, a plan. What do we think this should look like in the future? But
Yeah.
again, it's a
It's
fluid
just,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. And I can see, there's a lot of changes that are happening with us becoming a village and some of them are understood, some of them aren't understood, but I don't think anybody envisioned anything changing with our premier park by any means.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's like, let's say at some point you want to put up a shelter at a different point up there too.
Mhm.
I don't want to have to go and redo this resolution just to put up a shelter up there,
I agree.
so.
Thank you.
Which is,
I'm going to even come to the next meeting and just explain my point if they want.
sure,
You don't want to insult them by this in any way, shape or form. I told Marlene that too. This is not an insult. It's just. I guess I'd like to see something more.
understood.
Yeah,
And,
we-
and, you know, a better shelter is something they've been, you know, that's been talked about too, so, you know, making the park more accessible, it's great when the weather is nice up there, but when the weather's not so great, then hard to have
Right.
events up there, as we learned this spring with the Easter egg hunt.
Right. I mean, Kathy's come up with some other plans that some other parks have been doing as far as cassette toilets, I think they were, is that the term? I mean, it's a lot more economical than putting in these full on, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but she showed it to me and I gotta say, it's much more appealing than spending the kind of money they want for a full on
Yeah,
facility, so, and it works pretty much the same to
wow,
the person using it anyway.
yeah,
Okay.
wow.
Well,
Okay.
you know, honestly, I'm ready to go back to them and discuss that and change my mind on the vote on this one. I think the arguments are good. And it's the right thing to do for the village in general.
We didn't need a motion, we just asked them to send it back to the Parks Committee.
Yeah.
And you have direction, Paula, we're just gonna ask you to take it back to the Parks
Yeah.
Committee.
Absolutely. Yep, happy to do that.
Okay, thank you, Paula.
Yep.
All right, item 11, Plan Commission referrals, we have none. Item 12, new business. A, discussion and necessary action regarding determination under 66.0404, parent 2, parent B of the proposed class 2 collocation on property located at West 230 North 9421 Colgate Road, LSBT 0149.995.002.
Okay, so this is an application that we received for, and we actually have the applicant is present on Zoom. So he's available if you have any questions. This is similar to something that we did last year, where but it's different in the sense that they are not asking to co-locate additional antenna on a tower. They are looking to put very small antenna onto the top of the support structure instead. So under state statute, it's either a substantial modification or it's a class 2 co-location. And the staff report is in front of you. And it is up to the village board to determine whether it is a substantial modification or if it is a class 2 co-location. And they have met the requirements for the application under state statutes. Staff recommends confirmation of determining that it is a non-substantial modification.
Comments from the board? Linda?
Could you please explain again what that one means that you're recommending?
So under state statute, if someone wants to add something onto a communications tower, it is either a substantial modification or it isn't. If it isn't, it's a class 2 co-location. So that's what we're asking is, does the board agree that this is not substantial?
That's a lesser,
Correct.
because of the height,
They are not increasing the structure, the overall height of the structure by more than 20 feet. They are not increasing the height of the structure by 10% or more. And nor the width of the structure by 20 feet. And then increases the square footage of the existing equipment compound. About 2,500 feet. So it doesn't do any one of those four things, which would make it a motor. major locations, but this co-location is different. Because it does not use anywhere else.
Okay,
It still does go to the planning commission, which is different.
okay, okay.
Mark, thoughts?
Well, if it's in those guidelines, then I would say go with the lesser one. 20 feet is not a lot.
Yeah, I did review the statute in this and I didn't think it was substantial modification, so I would be in favor of determining that it would be a non-substantial. And I would also agree that there's four conditions outlined in the staff report that I would find.
Mhm.
Paula?
Yeah, I mean, is this 5G? What's going in?
Go ahead, Nathan.
Nathan, are you available?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
That's a tough question to answer. 5G is just a marketing term. It doesn't actually exist technically. What this does is it is equipment that it's going to broadcast on an additional frequency that is currently not broadcasting at the facility. And it'll bring them into compliance, upcoming compliance to be broadcasting on that additional frequency as required by the FCC. What services, it goes into all of the services that are available from data, talk, text, et cetera. And what in the future might be 6G. They're not directly tied,
Fair enough.
if that makes sense.
Sounds pretty technical, but I'll believe you.
I'm trying to dumb it down as much as possible, but it is very technical. And there's a large difference between what all the components are doing in the background that I don't even come close to understanding. They're so complicated. And in layman's terms and marketing terms.
So
So
would
long
it-
story.
Would it improve the residents of Lisbon's internet speed or cell phone service, or would it be an improvement to our citizens to put that stuff up there?
Yes, it's an incremental step.
Okay.
They're adding on new frequencies and there'll be new services in the future that evolve constantly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I am also in agreement that it is not substantial.
Mhm.
Does anyone wish to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to determine that the wireless telecommunication facility modification request for Verizon Wireless LLC for the property located at W230 and 9421 Colgate Road to be non-substantial and subject to the four following conditions. I won't read all of them for length purposes, but they are in the staff report. And I would
I'll second. Any discussion?
Mhm.
None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Item B is discussion and necessary action regarding a request by Lane Sharp and Cassandra, is it Anick? Anick, to appeal charges on invoice 202-01167. And you're here if you want to step on up.
Thank you. I never have to use these things, so hopefully I can just speak loud enough for all of you. So my name is Cassandra Anick. I am a property owner at N74W27324. Thank you for considering our request today. I do appreciate it. I know everybody's really busy. Our purpose of coming here today was just to raise a concern that we have for an invoice in the amount of $2,834.22 that we received at the end of March. I kind of want to start just by stating we're very aware of our obligations in terms of the permitting and what we have to pay. And of course, the fact that the village doesn't subsidize all of those costs. So I want to at least put that out there. We're not appealing the fact that we were billed in essence, but more just have some concerns about some of the specific charges. Some of those concerns really include one being a little bit on the accuracy piece. We did have a billing issue in February as well that was resolved swiftly after we raised it, where ultimately we were billed for what I'll refer to as like sort of all the media expenses that the village had for a particular month, when really it was about $47 or so that we were really on the hook for. So just concerns over that. With this one, we have a bit of a lack of detail that's been shared to us for just a really high level of correspondence that occurred during the month of January. So we're not ultimately sure what we're paying for in some of those things. There are also a few that have a large amount of time that were spent on some of the tasks that feel a little bit excessive. So with that, we also want to just understand the time allocation for some of the other agenda items and making sure that that's been sort of allocated out equally. And then there's some topics on there that we feel were discussed at length and are unrelated to what was a major grading permit application for stormwater ponds and didn't really reflect any of the previous agreements we had with the planner in December. Specifically, there's a lot of fencing conversation that happened prior to the meeting when we were in person. So I know we have done an open records request that was very recent. It happened this week. So I recognize, folks are busy, but open to, how you suggest we proceed or just try to get a better understanding of how it should be allocated.
So, let me just tell you how the bill comes up. We can start with that. So, we get billed from each of our plans. And, each one of them say what kind of time and what they sent, give a little summary of what they did. For each of our ARs. So we pay the bill and then we take the amount that was the time that they spent for a specific property owner chart that we then bill that back. Because that would not be something that the rest of the property owners are paying. What she's questioning is the amounts of time, and we don't get a summary of, minute by minute on what they do. They just say they worked an hour and they worked on application, reviewed the application, reviewed the complaint that they had, public hearing comments, prepped for the meeting, created the reports, did draft reports, and then finally prepared for the meeting that day. Their time at the meeting broken out by each of the topics that were on the agenda that day, and then travel time for the time for that person to come, as well as whatever. So that's the process that's taken. They do have the ability to request request information, which they just did
Monday.
On Monday.
Monday. And we have not gotten any information put together. We did check to see if something was like double billed or anything like that. And we did not, but we reached out to both our vendors to see if there was more information to give us on the time breakdown. So then we can get something to
So you requested that now?
that, well, she requested on Monday,
Okay,
and so we talked to, we just had a meeting today with two of the vendors, so, but we don't have anything, we didn't give them public records.
is that,
They requested
is that gonna cost more money because of that now
the customer.
to us? And can we, if they're requesting, and I'm no offense, but as a village, do we have to pay those costs to check this out?
Well, I think, and if they bill us, we can argue it that they didn't give us enough information, I guess. I went through a little bit with one of the vendors and I didn't see there wasn't any concern that I had with the correspondence back and forth, fencing issue. A fencing issue came up due to the fact that we had a complaint and a concern, so then we spoke about that what that's required in the code. And that's why he keeps talking about fencing is because I told requires it for pools.
Mhm.
And so,
Mhm,
that's where the discussion is.
mhm.
And so,
To clarify though, it was not determined to be said pool until following all of those calls about fencing. So I want to clarify that because that was decided during the plan commission meeting and there was a lot of confusion about what I will still say is a pond. But it is concerning that there are so many calls about fencing or something that was an application for a retention pond ultimately. So, I mean, I'm sure there are other venues where we can talk about that piece of it. But I do have concerns that, you know, for an application intake and an application review is 2 hours of time like that. That feels a little excessive. I mean, there's January 26th, there's a 2.5 hour Zoom call with town staff, another update to the plan commission, emails to the clerk. That feels like an excessive amount of time prior to us being engaged.
I understand your concerns, absolutely. But did you actually talk to someone that maybe came out to your home or on the telephone at all about these charges?
The specific charges in here, no, we just got this bill at the end of March.
Mhm.
So we essentially exercised our ability to appeal
Sure,
through this.
sure.
And we're happy to work with folks on it. We just, again, don't know
Sure.
exactly what it is we're paying for in some cases.
so I did the public records request. and
Sure.
that was more detail,
Sure.
but we are not right now. There's nothing, I can't give you any more information.
In my feeling, I think it's because we're a pass through, so whatever they charge us. And I'm a little concerned if they're gonna be charging us more to check this out. So I'm kind of twofold, like charge.
There's a chance we're not gonna charge us for checking out, if you had a question about a bill. we'd be able to answer.
Exactly, so
But
please,
not doing any other research. Checking out.
Yeah.
And they do have a right to know what they're being billed.
oh, I understand it exactly.
So,
I understand your position. Yeah,
So,
Go ahead. Yeah, I guess. I don't think we're gonna resolve anything tonight.
no,
I don't think it's prudent on either part. I think you need more information. So do we.
mhm,
Uh,
exactly.
is there, are you just contesting everything? Or do you have certain,
No, I have
Certain
certain
bills
ones that
or
are in
certain-
there, not certain bills. I think there's stuff on each side, which I'm happy to even recap. I think even in the records request, it's probably pretty clear on some of the spaces that I have concern, but I haven't specifically called out line items. I'm happy to do that. I think really this was just
Good idea.
exercising the right to start the process, right? And just,
Mhm.
and understand that. So
Mhm.
totally understand if we can't resolve tonight.
yeah, I think by way of us, it's responsible for us not to let us resolve anything tonight. And it's also.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beneficial on both people's part to get it right, so.
Yeah, understood.
So
So,
you could give us more of a detail exactly with line item.
right,
About and we talked with vendors.
Okay, sure. Sure, great.
are you requesting anything from the attorney's bill or just the planner's bill?
Some of it on the attorneys as well.
Okay,
Yeah, the fencing stuff is a big one.
okay.
And I think that was in the request. So that's, yeah, once we have that, then we can talk further. I'm okay with that.
We've had other people to talk to in the past. You can call us and ask us, you know, to get like,
Okay,
This is not uncommon. in some of the applications.
right.
Get more information. This is. for us.
Okay. And we do understand. So I would question the same thing.
No, I respect that.
Yeah,
Thank
okay,
you.
thank you. Okay,
I guess. I'll make a motion to table bump B. For further information from staff.
I second.
all right. Motion's been made and second to table, no discussion on that.
Mhm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye,
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item 13, adjournment,
and make a motion to adjourn.
moved by Linda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Paula. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You're out at 7:32.
Paul, are you in Florida now with your mom?
I am, yes.
Oh, hope everything's okay.
Everything is wonderful. My daughter graduated from college this week.
Oh, how great is that?